Alright, let's do this. So, looks like you just slipped. Generally speaking, when you see a ball like rolling in like this, you want to try and boop him. Like fly into him and knock him back, because chances are he's going for a slam, right? Or he's trying to get behind you to your back line and to like set up for another like play later. In either case, like booping him is good, right? If he goes for a slam, you boop him. Of course, his slam misses. He does no damage. He's sad, right? If he tries to fly past you, you boop him up. You mess up his momentum, and then your McCree flashes him. Like life is good, right? So these are all good things. So generally speaking, when you see the ball going in for a big rollout, you just boop into it. You just fly at him, and then you fly back, right? So that's just a general principle of fighting balls in general. If you can boop their slam, right, they're super sad. You're also peeking a little too wide, right? Generally speaking, you want to chill like around this box, right? Because like as you saw, the Widow like was back here. She didn't actually try to shoot you, but if she does shoot you, that's 300 damage that you're giving up for free, right? Your Hanzo's kind of out of position, but that's not anything you can control. In either case, like you don't want to be like the one taking 300 damage, right? So don't play here. Also, if it turns out there's like a hog coming from down here, like you're a free hook. Whereas if you're playing here, like it's a bit of a harder angle for him to go for, right? So you want to use natural cover as much as possible on D.Va. I know it feels like on D.Va, you can like you're not going to die in these situations, but like taking a lot of damage it's not as obviously it's not nearly as bad as dying, but it's not very good, right? And it forces a lot of pressure onto your healers, right? Your team's already struggling to keep up with healing, so like you don't want to add to the problem, right? But like yeah, see like eventually the Widow decided to shoot you, and you just immediately are probably gonna lose mech for it. Yeah, so like eventually the Widow decided to shoot you. She headshot you once, and you just immediately lost your mech, and like it didn't happen earlier, but like this time like you got punished for it. So just something to keep in mind, right? Like don't take damage unnecessarily because it's gonna suck.
D.Va re-engage.
Can't touch, that's fine. Oh my god, the lag. Alright, so you and Monkey take opposite high grounds. This is really good. Just keep in mind like where your healer sidelines are. So like periodically, just like when you duck, say when you want to take cover, right? Because you feel like you're taking too much damage, duck into here. Oh my god, the lag. I hope this doesn't show in the VOD. So just like duck into here, right? And see if your Ana can see you, right? Like where LOS is, right? And if she needs like certain LOS to see you, then you like either like drop down, right, to like get LOS, or like boost up to get LOS, or boost back on the ship in order to just regroup and then go back, right? But you just like do what you need to maintain like LOS, right? Also, if you don't take much damage, right? Say like if you like slide into here earlier, like take 200 damage, like less than 200, like say like 150 damage, slide back into here, and you realize you can't get healed, you're still fine. You don't do anything because you're only missing 150 health. Your Ana should probably relocate, and that time she can probably get LOS, right? So don't worry about it too much. But you definitely don't want to give this up. Yeah, that was also not the way to back up. So, if you're going to fight here, right, remember this is our cover, right? This is our natural cover. It's really hard to push us. If we need to, we can drop down, right? We can punch this railing, just drop down, and we're totally fine, right? And then we can either like come back up and fly and boop them back, or we can just like come back, like use DM to cover our retreat, grab the mini, and then fly up, right? And that way, that's a pretty successful retreat, right? But the problem is like we try to back up like this, just like generally, just straight back in the open, and then we try to fly away, and we just died because there's just too much damage. And plus, we stuck around here for too long as well, which didn't help. So, quick note, you actually really don't want to die here as Baby D.Va, because your team wants to hold control of these 4 doors, and they can't do it while you're dead. So, try to get ult charge, but try and do it safely. You don't really actually want to die here. You're doing a lot of like jumping in front of widows, like you face tank the ball when you fight. Oh my god, I'm off the lag. Yeah. Oh my god, the lag. You're just taking a lot of high risk plays in order to get your ult back, but you really just don't want to die here actually.
다시 한판 해보자고.
He's on the ship, so we fly to the ship. Okay, so So you heard the monkey over here, right? You heard him jump off to your left, right? You go check, right? Your Hanzo is shooting up above you, right? There's no monkey on your floor or below you, right? So instead of swinging out and checking right, we should just fly up to the ship because the monkey is 100% up there, right? You don't know exactly where, but you know he's up here. So you should go find him and just go mess with him, right? That's what you can do as D.Va. Like, you're the big bully. Like, people don't want to provoke D.Va, but you want to be provoked all the time. Yeah, but he realizes it's too late, so now his jump cooldown's back, and now he's like counter diving Avery, and Avery's gonna die now. This isn't your fault. Like, I mean, Avery's probably too deep, and it also like doesn't have support from his Ana because his Ana is like zoned or something. But in either case, like you could still like make this harder for the enemy monkey by like threatening him and making him like worry about his life first, as opposed to like doing this, right? So.
Time to raise my EPM.
Okay, so when you go for this play, or to boop the Widow back, instead of going for the melee, because the melee is like burst damage, I'm trying to kill you kind of play, right? But if you're just gonna boop her off the ship and then run, which is the appropriate play, and it looked like that's what you're trying to do, right? Just boop her with the boost, and then turn around and use the remaining of your boost to get away, right? Because you need to create space, and not like spaces in like space with the team, like space literally between you and the enemy team, right? So yeah, so if you're gonna go for that play, which is fine, like just like open up with boost in, boost out, right, and try to get out, because you're probably gonna
Bailing out.
Again, you probably don't want to lose mech, or you probably don't want to die here. You probably rather regain your mech. So just play like conservatively, right? Don't play out in the open, right? Use standard squishy fundamentals, right? Play cover, take spam shots, high percentage shots. And if you happen to get ult, if you get mech back in, if they chase you, right? Now they're committing, like instead of just killing you because it's easy, they're killing you. They're killing you because you're easier to kill the target, but it's still like a relatively hard kill if you play cover and like corners and stuff like that. So you will still want to make the kill difficult for them if like you're trying to live, and you should be trying to live here because like your team is effectively down one. Whereas if you get mech back in like 15 seconds, you're back in the game, right? So your team's lost a little control. That's not entirely your fault. You're just like out of match. That's like your
Get
fault.
through this. Sniper, don't get caught. APM 좀 올려볼까?
Like, do you see how you're just standing out in the open shooting? I know you have a bubble, but like this is the kind of thinking that like gets you like loses you mech, right? Like your damage is meaningless in this range. The only reason you should do this is to scout for sombras, right? So in the meantime, you just want to set up like close to corners, right? And just like that way, you like if you want to do the same thing from here, right? It's fine. Like you still got the bubble, but you got a corner now. So the bubble disappears. You just walk by the corner, right? But you just want to be like consistent about using cover because cover is important. Right, so like, for example, you're shooting this ball, but this ball actually does way more damage to you from this range than the other way around, right? Also, if you're standing in this range and you shoot right here, you actually can't back up because you're not using one of these corners, right? And if the Hanzo comes around and shoots you, right, he just comes around the corner and he LOSs these guys, but shoots you, right? There's actually nothing you can do about it except DM, right? And you should DM that, even if you're playing the corner. But if the corner, like, you only have to flash your DM and then you step into the corner and you're golden, right? But because you're playing here, you have to hold your DM in order to get around the corner if you don't want to take any damage, right? So like again, these sound like small min maxes, but these add up really fast in D.Va because D.Va doesn't really have like big flashy stuff like Zarya. It's a lot of just like small efficiencies and ways to like maximize value, and then going for the right person or finding the right thing to do in a fight. This is good. This might be a little jumped out. Yeah, maybe a lot of damage for this. Right, not too bad actually. Get out and take high ground. Really good. Yeah, the sleep is good. Body blocking as well. This is actually really good. So you want to set up for a bomb here, actually. So the monkey committed really hard into your team, and you know that there's no bubble back here anymore, right? There's no shields, there's nothing, right? You're also really low on mech, or you were anyways. So you don't want to take this attention because like there's a lot of other things to heal, right? Like each other. So right now, you should really like be looking for your next boosters. You want to throw a bomb into the enemy team. Like you're grabbing like healing your attention that really should be going on your Ana, right? I mean your Mercy should also understand this, but like you should really be looking for the next boosters, right? Instead of flying at the monkey, right? You should really be walking forward, like during this time while you're shooting the monkey, just start walking in this direction, and then throw a bomb around the corner, right? And that'll buy you space to both deal with the tanks and also gain your health back, right? Also, generally speaking, you always focus the monkey over the ball unless he's primaling. In this case, it's primal finish, so you just shoot the monkey instead of chasing the ball. But you need to use the bomb to relieve pressure. I think Yeetle talked about in his video, like using bomb to relieve pressure to save teammates is really strong. Right, in this case, there was 2 tanks in your backline, and the whole enemy backline was zoned out, but they were coming in, and you need to keep them like zoned out. So you just throw the bomb at them, keep them out, and you might even get kills if you're lucky. But that's not the point of throwing the bomb there. Yeah. And so because you throw your bomb too late, you get demeched while you're trying to throw the bomb, and the bomb is useless, right? So if you're on low HP, that's a great time to throw a bomb because healing up a diva from 1 HP to full takes forever, right? So we just throw the bomb instead, right? Now we have a full mech, and we relieve pressure. So. Now you just want to chill behind the cart as much as you can, right? Don't peek over the cart because peeking over the cart, well, it forces your DM, right? If you just chill under the cart, you can like LOS the Widow, right? If you need to back up, then like you flash DM and then fly away, right? And then you just hide behind a corner. But you don't want to forcibly peek it because you gain nothing from doing so, right? Because you're just a diva, right? Your leg is like rotating. Anyways. If you just force all your DM, now you're like have to back out. I mean, you'll be okay. You're dead, right? Yeah, you don't look very like confident, like very like you looked very panicked on what you were supposed to be doing there, right? You just kind of ran like literally turned in circles like 3 times, and then flashed DM randomly, and then like got purpled. And once you get purpled like that, it's time to leave, right? Yeah, if you're not sure where to go, just fly somewhere, but leave the cart, right? Because again, living is more important, is always better than like stalling the cart for a couple extra seconds. So and as diva, like you were full health there, you just got purpled, right? So just like turn on the jets, either fly towards high ground, right, like back towards here. Or like fly back around this corner, right, and use this as cover, right, or fly into your spawn. I don't recommend that one because that one is like kind of stacking all your pieces, all your heroes together, which is generally something you want to avoid. But yeah, just like fly in away from the cart, right, take cover, like go into here, grab mini, and now the Widow has to think about you, right? So if you fly into here, right, you got the mini. Now you're in a position to be able to come back to cart your next boosters, or you can go frag the Widow, right? And this is really hard. This is something really important because your monkey is back here, and there's 0 way to get from here to here in a reasonable manner, right? So, but if you're here, the Widow now has to think about you, and she doesn't think about you, like you hear her shooting your team anyways, right? Or trying to shoot your team. Then you just like come out, unload everything, fly into her. She's you force her like at least out of the fight, if not kill her, right? But again, like gotta save your mech because your mech is really important. It's what enables you to make plays like this. You can't make this play without mech, right? So you're just gonna stall card as long as you can, on the back forward. Just not focus on living.
Diva re-engage.
Minutes coming.
Defense mission activated. Routing tower forward barrier. Get over.
Tracking could use some work, but we're chilling. C9 here, so now we can play close up a bit. Again, if we want to scout, we scout close to the corner because it's easier to control the angle, right? So if we're here, and it turns out somebody's hiding behind here, right? And he comes out. Now we just spend several. He jumps out here this way. Now we just spend several seconds to DM or boosters to get to cover, right? But if we're close to the corner, and we see this, right? And he jumps out, right? We're still right next to the corner. We flash DM for like half a second, back up around the corner. We're golden, right? We spend less resources doing so. So always play close to corners as tanks, with the exception of Roadhog. But generally speaking, tanks are cover is always your friend as a tank, and you still usually your friend even on the characters that don't want to use it. Did you see that? Actually, that was a perfect example. I went too far back. Hang on. So you're playing super wide on the corner. Not only you're playing super wide, you're playing super far from the corner, right? And then a Widow jumps out. And look how long you have to DM this Widow to avoid taking a headshot, or to avoid taking a shot in general. Like, you have to hold DM this entire time, right, in order to get here. Because you're playing here, as opposed to here. Like, it might not seem like a big deal, but it kind of is a big deal. Like, this whole fight, you're probably too low. Right? Yeah.
Routing towers, forward shield.
We won the fight, and we're just getting our DM back, right? And this is why it's so important to like manage our DM well and not have to use too much of it at one time, right? So we had to use all 2 seconds there. It takes like, I don't know, probably like 8 seconds to get it all back. I think is like the most. They keep changing it, so I have no idea. But anyways, like you just never got more than like 2 seconds to put DM back together because like you spent all of it in one spot, and then just never had a chance to rebuild it. Like good teams will recognize that when you spend all of your DMs, they're just gonna push you back. Yeah. You want to play close to the corners, so that way you're able to just peek and then splash DM, and you're back to cover. Kind of flashes the DM a lot when you actually don't need to. But overall, it's not bad. Yeah, kill him. Sad. No. Okay, we should bomb that. Yeah. So, if you die now, that's really bad because I mean your team's down one. It's kind of obviously bad, right? And then on top of that, even if you don't die now, you're out of mech for the next like 15 seconds or so, 15-ish seconds, right? Give or take. So even if you don't die because you're a point of vulnerability for 15 seconds, you also just don't have mech, and not having mech is pretty close to being dead as D.Va if they go for anyone else besides you, right? So you're pretty reliant on your team, like somehow holding out without a D.Va mech, like an enforcer to like bodyguard them. So you should just bomb this, get your mech back. Like it doesn't have to be a good bomb. Like that's good enough, right? You got your mech back.
Ejecting.
That's okay. Josh killed everything, so still safe. I like the pressure on the monkey though. But like obviously like he had more help than you, so unfortunately. But I like the play there. I don't think that generally, most of the time that's the correct play. Right there, maybe not, but I think generally.
No one can hide from my sight.
Marked by the dragon.
I know. So I know. Owen's telling you to watch out for him, but like that doesn't mean you need to just like go stand next to him, right? Like if you just play up here, like where can the ball, where can the monkey go, like to actually get to your Owen to get to Owen without you seeing him, right? Like if you just park yourself here, he's eventually going to have to like contest the high ground normally, and you fight. Owen's in a pretty safe spot. Like there's no way to go from here, right, to here. It's just physically not very possible. And even if he does, right, then you just boost back, right, and problem solve. And like your mercy comes back, and like now you're 3 people protecting Owen, or 2 people protecting Owen. Owen's fine, right? But like there's not really a big difference between like parking yourself here and like parking yourself here, right? It's the same idea, right? If you see the monkey like trying to like squeeze himself through this gap and jump over the wall, right? Then you can just shoot him in the face right here, right? And that's just as good as stopping him, right? If he tries to jump, then you boost into him, knock him back, and then you screw push jump. He lands too short, he dies, right? But that's how you protect. That's it. The best way to protect your Ana in general is if you have the ability to. You want to stuff the staging areas. You don't want to stuff like the space around your Ana, right? I mean, if you need to be with your Ana to protect him, that's you do, and against a lot of like good dives, that's what you have to do. But in this case, like there's enough space to like set up. Like there's so few areas to set up that you can just contest the setting up areas. Yeah, like shooting here, like you just gotta break this habit. It doesn't do anything, right? First of all, you saw her grapple, so she has no grapple. And second is like you do maybe 2 damage to her from this range, right? Where she shoots you. So you much rather just play an area where you can just not be shot from there, or play an area where you can interact with that better, right? So like instead of trying to shoot, just walk, because walking, because when you shoot, you walk slower. So just walk over here, and if you think she's gonna grapple again, then you start boosting up when you think she's gonna grapple and fight her, right? Or fly over here, right? Where you can actually shoot her when she tries to grapple or DM because you're close enough, right? But you get the idea, right?
60 seconds.
Dragon. Fine.
Time to raise my APM.
So you don't need to DM your Hanzo if the Widow's dead, right? And the Hanzo's dead. So like they have no range threats anymore. There's nothing to DM, right?
Get through
This
this.
is when you have full license to just YOLO in and go aggressive. Maybe not YOLO in, but you know, to like push up really aggressively and chase kills.
Walkie dog.
Alright, so now they respawn, so we're back to a normal playstyle. Again, you see how we just spent our entire DM crossing again because we were out of position. We still take damage. And we're still like barely keeping up with the DM. We flash DM every time we get it because we used it all in one spot and we can't actually like resist the urge to peek long enough to hold our DM charge. Speaking of which, we should not peek all the time. If we know where they are, that's good
Time to raise my APM.
Alright, this monkey bubble. Like again, monkey is bubble's the only thing that stops your bomb from being effective. So we just crack the bubble now and then throw a bomb at it.
Nerf
Go.
this.
Go. That was your kill actually, but Ian stole it. You should DM that dragon by the way. That's definitely a dragon you can DM, because you're right next to him. Dragon so much. Oh my god. Yeah, I think that was kind of on you. I don't normally want to say it's someone's fault in a VOD review that like something happened, but that was kind of your fault.
Ready for battle. 4, 3,
Alright.
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Again, like just like
Escort
put your
the
DM up
payload.
when the spawn door opens. If you don't see anything, just drop your DM. Right? You're chilling.
Routing power
Don't
to
shoot the
forward
Widow from
shield.
this range. It's meaningless, right? So if you see the Widow, put your DM, turn around the corner, call the location, and get in position, like a better position where you can actually fight, right? So like for example, walking up to here, like putting your DM here, like is like and trying to like shoot her is kind of meaningless. But if you walk this way, like flash your DM, don't take damage, call it out, walk this way, get here. Now you're in a position where you can actually potentially influence the Widow, right? By like boosting into her and shooting her from low ground or going up the stairs, right? But like again, this range is worthless. It's like I don't want to say worthless because like you do technically get stuff, but like it's worthless, right? You don't get anything really. All you do is spend all your DM. Yeah, you still have the DM to actually save your monkey now, right? Imagine if you had a full 2 bar of DM right now when your monkey is like being shot by the Hanzo, right? You can just save him. So you're walking the cart under, which is really good, but you should be aware that the whole fight is happening up here, right? So once you get the cart to a certain point, right, either call for people to drop down with you and play cart underneath, right? And if you want to take high ground later, you have this nifty stairwell on your left to get you up to the high ground. Or you just get the cart up to a certain point, and then you boost up and try to like come back and help them, right? Like maybe boost someone into your team, or like just like fly back into your team, right? But like you get the cart up to a certain point, and then you're done, right? You don't need to actually walk the cart into their all the way into the point, because that's not going to happen, right? In the meantime, your team's just going to lose a fight.
Routing power to forward barrier.
Your team's fighting without you, which they probably shouldn't do, but you also should just like try and help them, right? I know you're walking the cart, but like go over there, help them fight, and then go back to the cart when it's convenient, right?
Get through this. Picking up. Heal up.
Yeah, never give up as D.Va ever. And I mean like seriously, like you can't give up on D.Va because if you stop moving, they will stop shooting you. Like and there's no team in the world. Okay, there are teams. There no team worth its salt will like shoot you while you're standing still as D.Va. In fact, that you just give them free sleeps, right? So you have to keep moving. You have to threaten kills with your by shooting them, or else they won't kill you, right? Um, and like just like as soon as you get unmech here, you just have to like I'm sorry if I played that too fast for you. I was just watching a 2x I think speed I think at that moment. Did you lose mech? I was still on 2x speed. Okay. They'll get you low enough that they can reliably kill you, right? Because they don't want you to walk away and get away from them. But like as soon as they see you stop moving, they'll just like kill you low and they won't kill you. This is what good teams do, right? They just look at you and they're like, she's not trying to do anything, right? But if you put 8 headshots at this Hanzo's head, right, they will kill you, right? As opposed to letting you trying to run away first, because you're about to kill the Hanzo, right? So you just have to fight, right? As soon as like I see this happen a lot with you. I think a lot of players in general on this team, like they've given up, right, on a fight, right? You can't give up, right? You just gotta keep fighting. It's a really bad habit to just stop moving, and assume they'll kill you, because a lot of times they won't kill you. And yeah, that's an even worse feeling is when they just don't kill you because they don't have to. Like I know maybe you're trying to like not feed them ult charge, but the amount of ult charge you can feed the supports is pretty negligible versus like the threat like versus the amount of time you're losing by not dying, right? So just try and kill someone, and or move away at the same time, right? So if you're moving away and shooting, or you're walking into someone trying to kill them, eventually they're gonna have to kill you, right? So it depends on the situation, right? If they're in a situation where they're all 5 heal, like all 6 of them are on top of you, they're healing, they're not dying, right? Trying to walk into someone probably isn't the best play. You'd rather try to move in the direction of your team. But this is like an actual part of the D.Va game. Like you gotta try to figure out how to get them to kill you quickly. Yeah. Or in some cases they let you go, right? You can like, well, if you're shooting, right, and they let you go, they might let you go with 80% on mech, and then you get your mech back in 10 seconds, and it's like you never died, right? But you do have to make them kill you. Or you should just shoot as baby D.Va. Right? You should just not give up, I guess. That's a really bad habit.
I'm not a good loser.
You see how you're playing here, right? As opposed to here. It's like this is actually very significant, right? This is like 10 feet forward. And there's no meaningful difference in terms of like LOS, right? But if you're here, you see this guy, you DM, you drop your DM, you're back, you're safe. Or you just like decide to like all in this guy, if it's like a Zen or something being stupid right here. You just like fly at him, kill him, and then leave, right? But if you're here, you just physically can't do that. It's too far away, right? Plus the angle is harder to control.
I'm gonna shoot you down. Defense matrix activated. APS will never shut him.
Do you see? Okay. Like again, it's like the same idea, right? So the monkey, as long as you're in his range, he does full damage, no matter what, right? But because you're a shotgun here, if you're closer, you deal more damage, right? You have less spread, you have less fall off, etc., right? But because you're always so scared to like walk at people, and so scared to play close to corners, you always have like your back pressed to the wall, right? Like, you're always so far back. So like instead of playing at the corner and just shooting him in the face, where he feels way more threatening, you should be backing you up, right? You're the one actually like really scared, pressed against the wall, and he feels like he can shoot at you because the trade's not actually that bad for him anymore, right? I mean, still not a good trade, but like you get the idea, right? Like it's not like actually a bad trade for him because he's not actually taking as much damage as you could be putting into him. So again, like play closer to corners. Corners are really, really good.
Routing power to forward shield.
As Zarya, I want you to play wide a lot because when you have a Ryan, like the way you take pressure off your Ryan is by playing wide. But as D.Va, you really need to play close to corners. Wait, Avery just let the dragon kill him.
I'm gonna shoot you down.
All right, I'm probably just gonna end it here. I hope that was helpful. Let me summarize real quick. Play close to corners. You control the angle a lot better. you spend less DM taking less damage to take less damage. Um, Try to like the corner also lets you be more committal, so that way like what is going on over here? Something was moving. Oh, it's like Lucio. He's in your hitbox. Uh, but like it also lets you be like play more aggressively and more committally in general. So like if you're hanging out here and someone's here, you can go fly at them. If you're playing over here, you physically can't do that, right? So like again, it's like I don't know if you've ever played any monkey, but you should actually maybe try a little bit of that. So when you play monkey, you're here, right? You jump this, but if you're here, you die, right? Just it's that simple, right? He doesn't have DM. He either has to drop his bubble or he dies, right? Or it takes a billion damage, right? So it's the same concept. Diva's just a little bit more flexible and has a bit less diving responsibilities, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't follow like these core fundamentals, right? Um, what else? Trying to think. I think you need to use your boosters more. I don't know if I talked about this much during the thing, but you kind of don't use your boosters a lot, and you don't really end them on high ground very often. Um, or maybe I'm getting you mixed up with another Diva player, but I think that's the feeling I generally get when I watch you play. Um, Also, again, be careful with your DM, right? Like, don't spam DM when you don't have to. There's a lot of times when, like, for example, a ball would be in your team in ball form, and you would flash DM for a second, right? And like, um, for example, if Orion does that, right? Like, if Orion shields something he doesn't have to shield for a second, not only is he taking damage that he doesn't have to like take, he's also not charging shield that he could be charging because he stopped his shield charge, right? So for Div, it's the same concept. If you flash your DM, not only are you using DM, you're not gaining DM, right? So be really careful at these moments about flashing DM when you don't actually have to, right? So flashing DM is a good habit to have, especially when you're already at high DM. So like losing a bit of DM is not the end of the world. Um, but be really mindful about like just flashing DM just because you feel like you should be, right? Like you flash DM on Monkey a couple times, right? Like it just doesn't do anything, right? And just puts you down a lot of DM in general. Um, yeah, I think the key for you is mostly just trying to figure out ways to stay in mech. You have a lot of problems staying in mech while also doing things. So for you, it's mostly just about like figuring out ways to take less damage, and then when you do take a fight, you just fight, right? You're committed, and there's no like Diva's not very I mean she can be in and out, but she's not very skirmishy. I guess that's not really the word I'm looking for either. She's not like Tracer, who can just kind of exist in the middle of a fight and then leave it at a moment's notice, right? As Diva, you're kind of just like you're either like behind cover or you're fighting, right? And then you use things like in like corners or like underneath playing underneath people or like verticality to like avoid taking damage and to get healing between these little bursts of activity, and then you commit to fighting again, right? Um, or like you're just shooting the monkey in your backline, so then you don't have to worry about cover. But like the general idea is like you want to play cover, and you want to stay alive. I really strongly recommend like watching more of that Yelo video. He does a lot of this stuff. You can watch like Owl VODs. Divas like in general are just like very very disciplined at that Yelo or not Yelo at that level because like most of the coaching is just about making sure they don't do dumb things. So like a lot of it is just like very strict in terms of like what the divas are allowed to do. Obviously, that crimps into what you can actually do as a playmaker. And trust me, this ELO, if you're good at diva, you can do almost anything you want, right? Like if you watch the Udall games, he's literally just like flying around fragging people half the time. Um, it's more about like doing the right things first, so that you're in a position to do that, right? Because if you don't like cover your bases, if you're too far away, if you take too much damage, you can never go and frag anybody, right? Um, so you got to get those bases covered. If you have any questions with this, let me know. If you want examples of like what good diva play looks like, let me know. I can give you some more resources potentially. I still strongly recommend watching as much of that Edel video as you have the patience for. I know it's a long video, but it's a pretty good example of like high level diva play, and like especially um, uh, at the elo like you play in, for example, right? And I know that like uh, it's a little stupid because he's smurfing, but you know you get the idea. Um, uh, yeah, I'll end it here. If you have any questions, let me know. And feel free to ask them. And yeah,